So, okay, so the topic that we decided for today was art games. And Kshitij, would you like to start by prefacing what you meant by art games?
Yeah, so like in within games, we have some of the games which can be which are considered as an art and which convey the artistic feelings or the intentions that the creator has more efficiently than others. And then we also have some exploratory game in which we can consider as an art games, which try to explore the boundaries of the medium and try to find new things that can be considered that can be used to uh, what we say evolve game as an art form.
Like before we go into that, I really want to
Mhm.
comment on how much I enjoy Kshitij's word choices so much. Like how he used conveys the developers' feelings more efficiently. I'm like, oh, mind blown.
Thanks.
Yeah, but okay, so that's there. But then in our previous recording, you also mentioned something about how uh, could you repeat that also, like how, like what is an art game and are games art or something like that? You mentioned something like that, right?
Uh, Actually, I don't remember it, but
So, I think what he mentioned was,
yeah.
is gaming or like is a video game a form of art?
Okay. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, let's get down into that before we go into the games for this episode.
Down to the brass tracks.
So what I really liked about these games that we played today was how you mentioned, right? There are things that want to push the current boundaries of what gaming is or not. Okay, current, at least in the time when they were like published, right? Because I think all of these games were pretty old, right? So in that aspect, I really do respect what they did. But when it comes to why I personally play games, uh, some of them were quite debatable.
Okay, so like were all of them old? Because the one by Kshitij sent the 3NL game collection, that's like 2016.
Yeah.
For the other games, I assume since they were using Flash, they are old.
Yeah, could be.
Yes, we actually played games that still use Flash.
Yeah.
We also played a game for which we had to find an emulator.
Yeah, I
Ah,
think
yeah,
that was a 2000 game.
yeah, 2000, right? Yeah. So pretty
Yeah.
old games that we played.
Yeah.
Some of them were fun. Some of them were just downright weird. Yeah. So
Okay, so let me start by asking Kshitij,
Mhm.
what exactly do you mean by some games being art forms? Like, when you say a game is an art game,
Mhm.
is it only the art that is outstanding? So, or is it something else? Like, is there a new interesting aspect of game design that has been thought of? Like a new way to interact with the components of the game? Or when you're talking about art game, it's just the design per se.
No, so when I'm talking about art games, I'm not just talking about the design or the graphics, because that would be too superficial.
Hmm.
And the I'm talking about whole of the game as an art form. So it may be some way of interacting with the character that has enhanced your experience, or like a certain new type of storytelling that the game is following. So I would consider that as an art game.
so if I understand it correctly, it's like whenever you say
Mhm.
something is an art, something like something is like
Yeah.
an art movie, so
Hmm.
we usually call those things that essentially try to do something new, or something that essentially tries to explore directions that have not really been explored before. So that is what
Yeah.
my general perception what the art is. And since in this scenario we're talking about a game, it should include everything that a game does, right? So it's not just the graphics, it might also be the sound, and it might also be the interface that the game has with the user. So is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, do you remember the interface of Persona 5? Like Persona 4, I guess. 4 or 5. The PS4 game.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
how beautiful and how innovative that was.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would consider that as an art game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you
And
also consider something to be an art game if it has like beautiful graphics?
no, like that would be too superficial.
See, if the graphics
Means,
But
was something interesting, then I guess it would be, right?
yeah, because
Like,
so,
like
sometimes,
I think we
mm,
can take an example, right? So the example of the Worm Room game in the Trenel Games collection.
like, no. So before we jump into games that are labeled as art games,
Okay.
yeah,
do you say Firewatch is an art game?
yes,
So the mechanics are not new. It
yeah,
doesn't really do something that's not been explored before.
yeah,
The only, not the only selling point, but one of the major selling points is its, uh, let's say, beautiful art style.
yes.
So you're just contradicting yourself right now.
No, but there's more to it. Like the story. Do you remember no, how impactful that story was, or how
Yep.
captivating that story was? So that story with the graphics that
So
makes the game more artistic.
So Rathi, what I think he wants to say is that the main selling point might be the quote unquote graphics and designs, but that is not the
Okay.
reason. That is not the only reason why he
Yeah,
considers it to be art. It's the entire accumulation of the games. Like the mechanics might not have been new, the sound
Hmm.
design might not have been new, the story might not have been new, but the way they all came together was something unique, which
yes.
is a point
Okay.
that I also agree with. Like I, but I can't really say anything because I haven't played that many games.
Uh, like, do you guys remember the Bioshock Infinite or just the Bioshock? Like, have you
Uh,
guys played it?
No,
Heard about it, not
I
played.
heard, like obviously heard about Bioshock.
Yeah. So, like, it also has a normal like game mechanic. The game mechanics are normal for an FPS, and
Okay.
then the art is also kind of a normative. Like, it's not exploring any things, or it's not just too mind blowing. But the story and the concept is beautiful. So that's why it can be called as an art game.
So by definition, any good game is an art game.
Arey.
Not exactly. Like I won't call CS:GO an art game. Means,
Why?
uh, because see, it's an interactive exercise, yes, but
Okay.
there's no particular message that it's trying to convey. So at least for me, like a thing that is that
Wait.
yeah.
So I think you first need to define. You need to give me a stricter definition of art game.
See, Rathi,
Like, do you have a
let
message?
me stop you here. Like, I can
Okay.
understand where you're coming from, right? Like, you want to understand what is an art game and what is not an art game. But in what I have seen, like in general, right, ki when you try to go into these kind of discussions, it really goes nowhere because
Okay. So
no, no,
see,
wait.
my
Yeah, like
that
we still don't have a
like
definition for games.
my point was that okay when you first brought up this topic,
Hmm.
I did a cursory Google search about like what exactly do you want by art games,
Yeah.
and so the things that I found was that they should have some kind of social message, or they should contradict the general stereotypes that we have,
Hmm.
or the third point was that they should do something radically new that has not been done before in terms of games.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
if we go by that definition, then I have some concerns about the games that we played.
No.
Okay.
So, like what I think, right? You can put. So I don't like this. Might sound that I'm putting down things, but like whenever you put the label of something art, right? So
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
like the person who has developed it, like what you hope is like he's trying to explore something that people normally would have shied away from, right? So it's like that label that you get just because you were confidently that you were ready to take that risk, because an art game can go both ways. It's like I have specific examples, right? So the idea of why CS:GO,
Okay.
why CS:GO would not have been considered an art game is,
Mm-hmm.
while it is a good overall designed games as such, but then at this point of time, it does not really have, like, it does not stand out, is I think the word that I might use, right? It does not really stand
I
out.
think it's more like it does not do something radically new
Ha,
Yeah.
that has not been
ha.
explored before.
Yeah.
Right. So we are clear on that. That for a game to be an art game, it has to do something. It has to explore uncharted
I
territory.
think, like, I think what the problem that you have, let's go with that. Like, we can start with that.
Okay. So the first one was like if we take the case of high
Oh,
delivery,
okay.
Yeah.
which is an interactive game. So I'll just summarize it briefly. Is that you have a balloon and a bottle
Yeah.
of wine, I guess,
Mm.
and you have to guide it with your fan, collect some flowers, and then the level ends when you reach heaven,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
which is like a set amount of
I
time.
agree
Okay.
with you on this front, Rathi, completely.
Huh. So, Kshitij,
Yeah.
what exactly did this game do that was groundbreaking or radical? It
Um,
had good music, it had good art,
yeah.
Wait. First,
and
the main question that I should be asking: how many flowers did you collect?
how many flowers did you collect? So, first time I collected 89,
Okay.
and then just to check if there was some kind of hidden mechanic or something,
Mm.
I left the bottle alone,
Okay,
Okay.
which ended up collecting, like, I think 10 flowers or something,
Yeah.
but nothing
okay.
happened. So, the same reason.
So I had 87 on my first try, and I was like, so, like, what did I just go through? And then I didn't never played it again.
So that was the point exactly, right? So I googled the definition that an art game has to do something radically new, and then
Mm.
every game that I played, I was like, okay, what does it do new? How does it? How are we supposed to look at it?
No, but did some
So yeah,
of the games
Kshitij.
had an impact on you? Like for the high delivery, the for like one of the key things that I liked was the mechanics of using the fan to guide the bottle.
Hmm.
So I liked that thing because for me that was a new thing that which the game has explored. And other thing was the concept of like delivering flowers to heaven. So I would
So
call it an example of an high art, like a hardcore art game, but
hmm
just something that was trying to do something innovative, and yeah,
I don't
it
know. I have
just
seen that mechanic before.
See,
yeah,
Rathi, let's not go into the thing that I have seen the mechanic before. Like, it has to be completely novel. I think let's shelve that specific point and just say that,
Uh-huh.
like, we have Gajapure agreeing with us that it's not that much of an art game. So I
Okay,
guess we have our answer.
like it just barely
sure.
crosses the threshold.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
in the
uh,
so in this, it was just the mechanic, right? Like using the fan to move the balloon.
Yeah,
Okay.
because normally you just have something which is non-tangible, like you are just moving your screen, or like when you're a phone, you are just using the gyroscope or buttons to guide the bottle. So there's always something like an invisible force which is guiding it. But in this, you had something visible, something tangible through which you were interacting with the bottle or the balloon.
Okay, I will agree that is a
Yeah.
good way to look at it. Hmm. Okay. But and building on that point, he having something tangible
Mhm.
where move. So we go. I really want to discuss about the game, The Neighbor, right, from
Okay,
the
yeah.
game collection. So, like, apart from everything, I really loved that crystal where that the person has walks toward for some God knows why reason. But the way wherever
Mhm.
you click it, the crystal so smoothly goes over there.
Yeah.
Like that specific thing, I really liked it.
By the way, did you guys planted something?
See, you spent 6 hours in that thing.
Okay,
You
yes,
spent six
but
hours.
yes,
Okay, so before we go that, like, let's ask Gajapure, what was your end goal with the neighbor?
so I'm just trying to explore what are the possibilities, what are the things that I can do with the limited resources of things that are available. Because the game entirely takes place in a just a small crater, and you
Mm-hmm.
just have some fixed equipments like a shovel, a broom, and some cactus plants. Uh, Kind of a utensil for making something, cooking something, and then a wishing place.
Okay.
And so, like, the more time you invest in the game, the new things you get to know. So, initially, I was like, why is there a shovel here? And the guy, when the guy first came, and he asked, like, are you using the shovel? So, I was like, okay, I haven't used it, but let's say yes and give it a try. So, I went somewhere, and then it's give you option to dig and to bury something. So if you explore different places, you find different things like some meteor, like meteor fragments, because it's a crater, and then some ancient coins, some bones, some scrap, and then you have another thing like when your guy or the friend comes. So every time he comes, he gives you a sapling. So if you plant that sapling, you'll get different kind of plants. So the first thing which I got was a pepper sapling, and obviously it gives produced pepper. And then when I offered that pepper as an offering to the altar, I got some Mexican drink, like
Oh,
the
nice.
national, yeah, the national alcohol of Mexico. I forgot its name.
Tequila.
No, not tequila. Like there was maybe it was a form of tequila, but there was special labels kind of thing.
No, so yeah,
Fine.
I really agree with your point on the neighbor, but my only gripe with that thing is that you cannot
Mhm.
save.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
accidentally closed it. I had also invested like what around a one hour into the game or something like that.
oh, yeah,
And like I didn't really use a shovel, right? So I did
okay.
get so like the one thing that stands out in my mind is like one time I got a blank canvas from the offering place.
Yeah,
So then I went to the workbench, painted it, and offered it. And the next time I got something else completely entirely.
yeah,
So that way the game really was like
yeah,
immersive. I would say I would use the
yes.
word
And there
immersive.
was like a nice element that so sometimes you get a book from the book as an offering when you give a poem which you have written.
Hmm.
So I tried to bury the book,
Okay.
and guess what? When I buried it, it turned into a tree
That gave you more books.
that gave me pages basically. And when I tried the same
Okay.
thing with the crystal, so it turned into a crystal plant, and every time I went there, I can have
You buried crystal
yeah.
that you used to move
No,
around.
no, no. So that one crystal is
Okay.
there.
Not that crystal.
Yeah, I think I got those crystals from digging or from the offering place, like the worship place. But when I buried it,
Okay.
I got like it formed a crystal tree, like similar to the crystal that you are following, but it was I guess one fifth buried, and every time you visit it, you would get crystals back.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a completely different experience.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like I started the game,
Mhm.
then I'm roaming around, finding the quote unquote end goal.
Yeah.
Ah,
Like
Rathi,
how, when does this game
Rathi,
end?
Rathi, Rathi, Rathi.
And then I was bored in like 5 minutes. I didn't even meet the person that you
Wait,
are supposed to
how
meet.
did you end the game?
He
I
closed
closed
it.
it.
Oh, I mean, you can just finish the game in one or two trials also.
Wait, what?
Like, yeah, so
How are you supposed to finish the
yeah,
game?
so when you meet the person,
Yeah, which I didn't meet.
okay, so when you meet for the first time, I don't know how to end like on the first time. 'Cause I think you have to give him back his shovel and that's it. But when he returns back after that, so he always asks like, "Are you done?" And if you say yes, then the game ends.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, nice.
So it's just like he's your
But how long does it take for that person to arrive? So, okay, so the main thing that was irritating me
Hmm.
was while it is beautiful, the walking animation is very slow.
Okay. Yeah, like
And it's irritating me.
okay.
I'm like,
I don't know.
speed of the crystal,
I
come on.
don't know. I thought like the way the very deliberate walk, right? It
Yeah.
really added to the entire immersiveness, at least for me.
Like sort of a realistic
I
feeling.
wouldn't say realistic per se, but yeah, the immersiveness. Like every action that you have to take is deliberate just because that walking is slow, right?
Okay, yeah.
So so that way, matlab, I don't know. Matlab, you like, okay, should I choose here? And then you suddenly realize, oh no. So it's like this, right? You're moving somewhere, and then suddenly you see, like, at the first time, I did not really understand what the offering was, right?
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
I made the offering. I'm like, okay, why not? And then I go down, then I'm going up the stairs, then I notice there's something new there. I'm like, oh, go there fast. Why are you not going there fast? But then like you learn to live with it, and then you start to understand it. So I really
Hmm.
like the game.
Yeah.
So that learning to live there, live with it part is there, right?
No, see, it's like
So,
the entire learning to live
yeah,
with it part comes because of the fact that like we aren't used to this, right? So if you play anything new, there will be that initial activation energy required for you to get used to it.
I mean, that is fine, but then, so my problem was that because this game does not give you as such
Hmm.
guidelines
Yeah.
on what to do,
Hmm.
if you don't really do the right things at the right time, you'll get bored because you'll find yourself not making any kind of
No,
progress
definitely.
whatsoever.
If I
Yeah.
had come across this game, had it not been for the specific reason of discussing this, okay, maybe not the neighbor. The neighbor looks good enough, right, for me to spend at least
Yeah.
15 minutes in the game.
Okay, so I spent 15 minutes, but nothing
Wait,
happened.
so
Okay, wait.
you didn't hear a whistle or something like that?
Nope.
Oh,
So basically, I went to the box thing
okay, yeah,
because that's the first thing that you
yeah.
see when you, and it's like, no, you cannot store anything here because you have nothing.
Yes.
Saw the stairs leading up, so I went up the stairs,
Hmm.
and there was the offering table, the altar.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make an offering. And it's like, no, you don't have anything to offer.
Wait, so you did not pick up anything?
No, I first went to the box, then I
Um,
went to the altar.
So
like,
this is so
so it,
Rathi like, right?
It's
So for the
yeah.
first thing that I did, I'm like, oh, edible aloe plants. What will happen if I click on that?
when that was the last thing that I found before I quit the game.
Oh.
For me, like the game of scavenging, like the scavenging instinct just kick in. I was like, okay, there's a cupboard. Let's try. There must be
Exactly,
something in it. There's
exactly.
a table. Let's try what
Yeah,
happens. There's
exactly.
a pot. Let's try.
So I was hoping the box would give me something and not take something from me.
No, so the only two things that were supposed to take something from you were those, like the box, the offering, and
Like,
then
that
there was
time,
the pot.
I roamed around the place looking to find something interesting that can give me an idea as to what to do
Yeah.
next. Then I went shopping, which turned into night.
Hmm.
And I don't think the person shows up at night, right?
Yeah. I think it's. Yeah.
So I, s- so I don't think like that's why I think the
And
person did not show up. I don't know how long did it
so,
take for you to
no, so
for
for
him to
me,
show
he
up?
turned up
I,
before I went shopping. So the idea is you can meditate also to make time go
yeah.
forward.
But without meditating also, like for me, it showed up around in like 5 minutes,
Yeah,
5 to
five
6 minutes.
minutes. Yeah, same.
I don't know. He didn't show up for me. I reflected in the pool a lot. I
Wait,
studied
I have
the
to ask, does
stairs.
reflecting in the pool does anything?
No,
Uh,
I don't
it's
think so.
just for you, just like meditation. But at least it speeds up the time. But reflection is just for you.
Okay. Because the
Yeah.
game like the text specifically mentions, right, reflect in the pool, you might get something. So I think we are still missing on something.
Exactly. which is why I did it like 10
I
times or
also
something.
Oh,
kept on doing it.
And then there was those cryptic messages, right?
which
And then I'm like, there's some, like when you reflect, sometimes it gives you a cryptic
Oh,
message.
oh, I didn't find that. Oh,
I mean, I think it was Latin or something. I
okay,
don't know.
those ones, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I was trying to decipher those
Mm.
to no avail.
Uh, I think time spent playing indie games, me and Gajapure have developed this scavenging need to search under everything. Like, okay, what does this do? Okay, what does this do?
I don't know. I think it just feels like if you make the wrong decisions, you'll be irritated by the
No,
game.
no, no, definitely. I think that was a big thing. Like this actually makes a good segue into this game, which I was the a glass room, right?
okay,
The one where the
yeah,
one about the memories,
yeah,
where you have to
Yeah.
tune the memories and somehow hear voices.
yeah.
So somehow I
Yes.
never could get it done, right? So
Plus
like
one.
See,
no matter how much I tried.
um, okay, so I completed the game, but still I'm not satisfied. Like I didn't get to hear any concrete sentences or something meaningful.
But you completed the game?
Okay.
Yeah.
How?
So
How?
like at the bottom left corner, like there are four diamonds and a row of dots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in certain images, the dot starts to move.
Oh,
Okay. That
okay.
never happened.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So and when this starts to move, it's the clue that like okay, so this picture is interesting, and then you have to use the circular thing and drag your mouse around
Mm-hmm.
to focus on the pictures, like the overlay that which is shifting, and when you pause at the perfect moment, like it gives you another hidden picture. So like if initially there was an option of left and right, and when
Mm-hmm.
you focus on that point, it may give you an option of up, which is only available when you are focused at that point, and when you go into that picture, the one of the diamonds is filled.
Okay.
Yeah. So I completed the four of the diamonds. Then I was searching like if there's anything else that I have to do, but I couldn't find it. Then I went online, search about it, and then found out like okay, that's the game. Like you just have to fill those four diamonds, and that's it.
Okay, for context, anybody still listening? So Gajapure actually spent a total of 6 hours in this game, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, like the
I
collection of five
The
games.
collection of 5 games.
Yeah.
I spent around 90 minutes, and Rathi spent around what 40, 50? Yeah,
I don't know. Let
so
me check.
something like that. So you can see the interest gap that we have in this. While I
44
what
minutes. Yes, you're on.
so
44
it's
minutes.
like while I did enjoy these games, right? Like the idea of these games were really interesting. Would I play them if it were not for this podcast? I don't think so.
Okay.
And while for the glass room, I can understand. Okay, there's some mechanic that I was missing, right? The two
And
games, the two games that is Lock and Worm Room. I cannot enjoy for the life of me.
same, bro, same.
The one with all the solar system thingies and
Yeah,
the last procedure.
I think the art looks nice.
yeah, but there's nothing
That's
else.
all.
Yeah,
Yes. So why is it an art game?
I don't think
Gajapur.
for me it's not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. But
I
and
wouldn't even call it a
garden?
game. It's like
Yeah,
Yeah, it's more like an
yeah,
yeah.
animated video.
And the studio that has like created that game, like they have way better
yeah.
titles than that. Like I was gonna initially suggest some of their work,
Mhm.
but they're like 3 or 4 hours long. So I was like, okay, no, let's look for something short. But those things are
Okay.
like really artistic, and the way they are telling stories is really beautiful and innovative.
So,
But this was a total failure.
see. Let's not use strong words like failure, because one of the Steam comments, right? One of the
Yeah,
Steam reviews.
for me.
So one of the Steam reviews actually says that this lock game was their favorite out of all those 5 games. And I can
Oh,
understand.
okay.
I can understand why, right? Because that game specifically delves into a lot of mysticism and theology and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if you don't have an idea, you're not going to understand it.
I mean, it was exploring the Christian
Yeah, something like
solar system, I guess. Yeah, like where the Earth is at the center, and then you have 12 planets that are revolving around.
that. So
But
for lock, you can see, okay, ठीक है, why some person
yeah,
might like it.
it
But the worm room,
yeah,
the worm
that
room,
was a disappointment. Like
the
The
botany,
botany
the
yeah,
one.
botany one.
I was like, why is it here?
Why?
I mean, you have just clicked the pictures, cropped them, and just post like stuck them to show the graphic form, and
I think
the
the
whole like the what?
I think the USP was that the entire thing was procedurally generated.
But
That
that
makes
was a very weak procedure generation, like a thing
it.
amateur does. And another thing, it was in the description, like it's just about the experience of a botanical room in which you just spend time, walk, and look around. But if they wanted to highlight that aspect of the game, then the graphics should have been better instead of just a 2D picture of the plant. Yeah, so it wasn't that immersive, like, and it didn't convey what they were
I don't know. So
trying.
maybe like this in VR might be like a really good thing
Yeah,
if done correctly,
no, but
of
you
course.
have other 3D games like which are procedurally generated and which are more beautiful. Like let's say No Man's Sky. So
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know, like the procedural generation is on its different level, and the graphics
So
are also good.
no man
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
Yeah.
full-fledged game, right?
So
And the last or the first game, El Filo something.
yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was fun. I mean, so while the mechanic was new,
Yeah.
yes, that was
Yes.
interesting. What I liked was how photorealistic some
Yeah.
of the things were,
Like and they were actually
like the pomegranate
Mm-hmm.
or the
yeah,
cup.
and those things were actually 3D, like the balls as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the pomegranate actually rolled off. It was not like a
Yeah.
static
Mm-hmm.
And
image.
it was also casting
So I think
shadows.
that might be somewhat.
And
But then some of the things were weird. I mean, like, why
I think
these
let's not go into the
pickles?
specifics, right? So like if anybody does go and play it, like that is a good game. You should play it.
Yeah.
Like that is fun.
Yeah.
And
You should play it, then it'll leave you with
why?
a question mark. Why? 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 Yeah. And so I think moving on from the Triennial game collection, Free Will was
Yes.
nice. I played
Yeah.
Free Will. It's like you'll experience the. I mean, that's bound to happen, right? That if you die,
Yeah.
it keeps repeating. So that's nice, but there should be a way to stop it
Yeah.
without refreshing
Yes.
the
I did think about that, right? Like I'm like, why? Like okay, like the concept sounds interesting, but why? But then I think the entire point of the game was that you can't. Like
Yeah.
sort
I don't know. I mean, so that doesn't make sense. Like towards the ending, so the ending should not be the way it is. If that is what they want
no,
to
no.
portray.
Like for this game, right? I have a very deep feeling that this game, like, is a proper meme. You know, it's like,
Yeah, I think it
it's
is.
like
And
there is not really any much of a deeper message.
yeah.
There, it's like okay, this is an interesting thing, let's see how
Let's
deep people can go into this.
yeah. And do you know like how the game ends? So if you just do
Yes.
everything perfect,
Don't
okay,
spoil it.
what?
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil
Don't
it.
spoil it.
Okay,
But we have all.
We have all reached there.
yeah,
No need to
cool,
spoil
cool.
it.
But like the free will
And
specifically, why I really recommend is like
so,
no no you say
wait.
you say.
Okay, go on. Like I was going to talk about like how Isle,
Okay
the
okay
game
okay
I
yeah go
Yeah,
apostrophe
we'll go
double L, Isle, and Free Will are very similar.
okay we'll go
oh,
there.
why?
But yeah, you can finish what
So free
about
will,
Free
what I
Will.
really liked, right? Like I don't know if this was there or not, but then you have all these art movies and art games, and like sometimes it's like things you will actually find you'll understand, right? And then there'll be times when
Yeah,
you'll feel that these quote unquote art tag that you add is just to allow pretentious people lord things over other common folk, right? So free will is like one of those
Yes,
specific things, much like the first game of the Triennial Games collection. It's like it is
Free.
fun. It's like you don't really know why specifically something is as it is, but it is fun, right?
yeah.
And which is
Yeah,
what I would want from a game. Like when I sit down to play a game, I
Hmm.
I'm looking for something that is fun, right? Like it might be interesting, right? But then if
Yeah.
it's not like fun, I'm not like it's not doing the
fun, but like at the same time, don't you want the game to justify
not
some of the
really.
things
Like
that it
I
does?
personally don't. It's like if I'm having fun, like what more do you want?
Wait, wait, wait. But making the game more artistic doesn't reduces the fun.
Exactly. That's what I'm alluding to. So like there are these RDMs where you can play and have fun. That is what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So yeah. Like while I necessarily did not have fun playing the neighbor, it
Okay.
was I really enjoyed playing it, but I didn't have fun. But the weird ass name for the Trinilian game collection, the first one, and this game, it was fun,
Yeah.
and I liked that about it. And this actually flows into what you are going to discuss about Isle, right? That was also a very fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Isle should be renamed Free Will. That actually portrays Free Will better.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know, like there's so since it's
Hmm.
very old, there's that factor that it does not understand a lot of things. You have to be very
Yes.
specific, or it can't do. But still, the options that it gives you, I think, kind of justifies. I don't know how many possible things to
I
do did
have
you
found more
find.
than 10, I think. Yeah.
Hmm,
So,
interesting.
But
Gajapur is
yeah.
spent more time,
Gajapur, no,
as
Gajapur, did
usual.
you find the winning condition?
Yep. Actually, on my first try.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. That was fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Gajapur is
So,
Gajapur has a
What?
certain outlook
I
about the
know.
world, so it would seem. Gajapur has
I
a
know. That
certain
wasn't
outlook
my
about
first
the
guess. That was my third guess or something.
I was like,
Yeah,
okay, it
exactly.
was hopeless. Why do you want to board the train? Why do you want to do anything? Okay,
Don't
I will
spoil. Don't
spoil.
Don't
spoil.
spoil
Okay,
that.
okay, sorry. Yeah,
We should tape his face just like in Kaguya.
Ah, that was a good episode.
Yes. But yeah, Isle actually shows free will or its lack of much better than free
yeah,
will, I guess. And all while being a
yeah,
I've
text
always
adventure.
wanted to play a text adventure. So like, ever since that one episode in Big Bang Theory, right, where Sheldon Cooper goes and plays a text adventure game, and the joy he has in typing go left, go left. So yeah, that is something that I want to do.
yeah. But I know also the way it was described painted a picture in my head. Like each choice it was offering me, like I could see the
Yeah.
things, like same thing with Violet as well. Like after spending some time,
Okay, so how far did you go
a
in Violet?
disclaimer, I used some help from the wiki. Like, yeah.
That's
So I,
fine. I think you'll have, what wait, why do you even need the wiki? The game has a
what?
built-in system. The game has a
Yeah, but
built-in
sometimes
hint
it
system.
doesn't give proper hints. So, yeah,
Oh, so
See,
yeah,
Gajapure, the
yep,
fanboy failed to solve the
yes,
game.
I totally failed.
But then, okay, so my bigger gripe with the game was I think the way it is hosted
Hmm.
online. It is like you have to click the next text box before you
Oh,
can
wait.
type.
Okay, I think I played it on a different whole like website. Yeah.
Oh, maybe. So what happened with me was like I did a few things, got a little
Mm-hmm.
bit ahead in the game, and then actually, without clicking first, I typed in the thing and the page
Oh,
reloaded
shit.
twice. But I think Violet would have been a much better text adventure. I don't know if it has, like, does it do
Yeah.
anything new as such?
And actually, for me, the hints were like a little bit too difficult, and but while using the wiki, like I completed, the end was satisfying.
But is it an art game?
Uh, sort of a weak kind of means
Why is
Rathi.
it bending rules?
no.
Okay,
See,
you
the
have to
story
click
it was telling was very like innovative or engaging. Like if you just take the same story and made a short film about it, it would have been one of the good like
hmm
a short film with a good story. So that thing was there. It was engaging, and there was a thing that the person was trying to convey. But the interactions or the things like the puzzles were too cryptic, like at least for me. So that ruined the experience.
Rathi, see, what we have to understand, right,
hmm
is like,
Yes, he
huh?
has a soft corner for indie games. He has a
See,
soft
see,
corner for
that
indie
is
games.
implied. Like, we not even going there. But the idea is like art, right, is going to be very heavily defended by the people who love it, right? So, so when
Yes.
outsiders like us and try to infringe on their things, do have something like this happens, like they are going to be defensive, obviously. But what we have to understand, right, is like
hmm
art is something so subjective. It's like
Yeah.
the moment you start looking at it from an objective point of view, it stops being art.
Mm,
I don't know. But like for every game that we have discussed, if you look at it very deeply, it isn't. I don't think you could call any of it art.
yeah.
Do you get where I'm going at? Um,
Not
so
really.
it's like you take the thing like Isle, right? So Isle itself, do you think it's an art game or not?
hmm So I think it's an art game because it does
What is
not
the new
like it
mechanic?
has a new mechanic.
The
The
lack of
lack
options
of
is a new
options.
mechanic.
Yeah, like in
No,
gen,
no,
like
no.
in normal,
Wait,
yes.
wait.
Okay.
Kshitij, you stay.
Yeah.
So, Rati, like you are telling me that the lack of mechanic is something that you're calling to be making it an art form, right? So, so then what I would say is
Yeah.
like if you take something like Firewatch, right, which you did not really
hmm
think of as an art game. Eh?
Wait,
Gajapur
wait.
did not.
Gajapure did.
Okay. I mean, so
Huh.
based on the definition that we have, is that it should do
Wait,
something
wait. It's
radically
not
new.
just
Yes.
radically new. Like
It's
it
not an
should it should do radically new, but also it has some like impact on the user or the viewer, like let's say consumer, and it should be exploring the boundaries.
Not
Yeah,
which is
sorry.
being
really
radically revisited.
exploring the boundaries, right? If you're trying to go into the boundaries, it does not necessarily have to be radically new. It's like, what is the way that I want to look at, right? So it might be something that is regularly visited, right? But it is not, if it is not part of the mainstream thing, it is still going to be something that is very less uh,
Then it is not
uh
regularly visited.
no, like, see, there are things
That
that
is the
can be
point.
regularly visited, but they never become part of the mainstream thing, and that's why there are things like that, that these things remain as an art form. So wait, let me think. I'm
Such a
thinking of an example. Um,
So while you think of an example, let us
Yeah,
talk about idle. So the lack of options is not in a way like it's not a restriction of mechanic. It is like towards the end of the game, it is the kind of frustration or the game forces you to give up
yeah.
towards the end. So the end, while a lot of games have a fixed ending, towards the end of the game, you have the feeling that it was through your efforts or your actions that you
Hmm.
reached that end. Whereas in Isle, that is
Yeah.
not a feeling
In
that
idle,
exists.
you just have one choice. Like you make the
No, so like it is not one choice, right? It gives
no,
you choices, but it subtly induces that feeling of a, a dread. Okay, yeah, that's the word that I want.
yeah.
Dread.
But in idle, like whenever you play, you have just one action which the character can perform, and after he performs, like either he will lose or he will win. So, yeah.
Are you sure about that? Because
What?
the option of so every time you die, the game gives you an option of
Yeah.
restart or
So
undo last action.
that's an enhancement.
I don't think it will to give you an option of undo last action
No.
if there is
So
only
like
one action.
when you restart, you it starts from the beginning. But if you don't want to go through that like initial phase or the initial message, or don't want to reload the page, you can just have like continue like erasing the last
Here we see
like
fanboy in action.
what happened?
Fanboy in
I
action.
think it's sort of for the convenience, but like till you finish the game, like
No,
Like,
no.
is
So I
there a
agree
point
with
of
them,
giving
just so
undo
that
in
the
Isle?
entire wall of text does not come again.
yeah, like it's sort of just
Are you sure
See,
it's
see,
that
in such
you
games
can
yeah,
you can
only
never
have
be
one
sure.
choice?
no, but
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I
That's why
believe.
wikis exist.
yeah, and that was the radically new thing that Isle had done. Like till then, I mean, Isle is not the first one to do it. It's a copy of another game that's called Isle, like the Isle in a shopping mall or shopping mall, and
Okay.
the creators kind of copied that thing, and she also credited him in the first sentence of the game, like where she mentions the copyright.
Oh, okay.
Like,
So that's what it was.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The first name is the name of the original creator. So till now, the text adventure would have like multiple options and multiple endings, that kind of thing. But I was like, you just have one choice. You make the choice.
No, so it does not have to be multiple endings. Like there are a lot of games. I think
Yeah,
majority of
but
the games that have a single ending. Or if they have multiple endings, the second
yeah,
one is
but
like usually a
till the
parody or
end, like
something.
you had multiple choices that yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so exactly that's the point, right? You feel that you are causing that ending, or you reach that ending because of your
In
actions.
I also you reach
So anyway, you have anything that
Huh?
is popular but not
Shreyas.
mainstream.
That is not what I was saying. I'm saying, and what I was trying to hint at was something that can be visited time and time again, but doesn't, like, still does not become part of the mainstream, right? So
Are like some paintings which were just uh, like
see,
which weren't that famous still like in their period, but now they are quite famous, something like that.
that is where my entire idea does come from. But since I don't really have any. like specific examples as Rathi wants, I can't really use that example, right? But the
Yeah.
like so like just building on what Gajapure said. So like there is a lot of times when the specific thing will be touched on time and time again, but it never became part of the mainstream. And the only reason they became popular even today, and even popular is a term, right? It's a subjective term, and like they become popular just because of their antique nature. It's like, oh, this is an interesting thing that came out this time around. Oh, you see that these different artists have actually done similar kind of things. So it's like,
Actually, I just found some examples for
oh,
that.
okay, thank you.
Like Manto is like that. Like during his time, like you all know how he died. Like with like he had to write sell his stories for a newspaper column or a small weekly magazine. And now like people are understanding
Mm-hmm.
like okay how rich his literature or the text or stories were. Like so he wasn't appreciated at that time,
Okay.
but now like people appreciate.
No, no. So
Yeah,
That
like
is
that's
true
not
with a
what I'm
lot of
trying to say, right?
artists.
So what
mm,
what
But
I what I want
yeah.
to hint at, like art, like whenever people try to put the tag of art with something that
mm,
they want to discuss, it is normally to somehow bring out the fact that this thing is trying to do things that is not normally done. But what I also want to stress on, that even though things something that is not normally done, it could be
mm.
possible. It's not necessarily has to be something very brand new and groundbreaking.
Okay.
It is just not normally done, and by adding the thing of art to it, you can essentially.
Okay, so
No, that is
that
not
is not
all.
that
See,
is not
that's my
always art.
point, right? So, like, whenever you say
Mm,
something is art, you can essentially alter your mind. Okay, okay, I should expect that something is going to be different, right? So then people can keep an open mind while trying to interact with it. So like if you push somebody
And
if you push somebody directly into a game, like say uh, what should I use? What should I? Let's take the neighbor, right? So if I was expecting a proper normal game,
mm-hmm.
maybe I would not have done what I did, right? I would have done something that you were doing. Okay, I see a box, I open the box. But since I knew it was an art game that Gajapure had recommended, there had to be a deeper meaning. And that is why you put in the effort of trying to play it and try to find and understand, because you knew it was an art game. Similarly, like for the game High Delivery, you actually played it a second time to figure out, is there something. Would you have done it if you didn't know that it was an art game? No, right? So that is what I'm
Nope,
trying to hint at.
not
Like
at all.
whenever something gets the tag of art, it's like people are essentially making a bid, like this is something that is different, and so keep an open mind. That is actually like how I perceive
Mm-hmm.
the entire, like this tag of art, right?
Uh, like, would Monument Valley be a better example?
I have not played Monument Valley, right? So
Oh, okay.
I really want to play it definitely, but like Monument Valley, yeah, you could take it as an example, right? So it would have been an art game when it initially came out, but due to such good this thing, right? That such a good trailer and the hype that it somehow bought, I guess, due to its marketing team or something like that.
Hmm.
It like I think it would still be considered an art game, right? Because it was trying to do
Yeah,
something new when it came out.
actually, it didn't. Like, the whole concept of Monument Valley is based on the work of MC Escher. So, it just made his work more interactable.
Hmm.
So, like, the work was there, but it was just in a form like that you can interact with it,
Yeah,
like,
so,
which
so
wasn't possible before.
that
So,
was my
yeah,
point. Right? Even if you bring
yeah,
something to a audience
mm,
that has not
yeah,
experienced something like that before,
yeah,
that makes it some sort of an art in my eyes, right? Like I
yeah,
personally don't really like classifying something as art or not art, because it I feel that it takes out like some part of like it takes out some part of the thing. Like it distracts from what the game actually is, right? Like when you try to
Oh.
go into things like whether this is art or not. So these kind of questions, I don't really like them. It's like a person made it, right? He might have made
Hmm.
it for a reason. He might have made it just because he was drunk, but he made it. So like it is up to you whether you want to play it and do you like it or not. Like trying to go
Yeah.
into all these discussions of whether this is art or whether this is not should not like should not exist. Like things like
Exist?
these do, like discussing about things like this does introduce people to different new concepts. Like so like if we hadn't discussed about is high delivery a art game or not, I wouldn't really have looked at what Kshitij had pointed out. Like it's a new way for interacting. Like that fan thing was a new way
Hmm.
of interacting with the player models, where normally you have something that is non-tangible, but in this you have a tangible thing. So like such discussions does like have a lot of merit, but like you sometimes see people go a little too much. Like they they either use it as an attacking thing, or you see people who use it like as a pretentious crutch. So like this like really irritate me.
Yeah, like discussion are mainly for like evolving the medium, not belittling someone.
Yeah. So that was my long rant.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we
Okay.
end on this kind of something is of whether when you give something a title of art, should it have multiple meanings? Can you have something that is like geared towards mass consumption
I,
Hmm.
I don't think
and
that's
still
a
be art?
standoff, right?
Yeah. Like
Wait.
monument value.
Wait,
Like
Rathi, what is your take on this question?
So I
So
think
I
something
also
can
agree
yeah,
still
on.
be geared towards mass
yeah.
consumption. So then why were you having this long rant about anything that is art needing to
Hey,
have multiple
I don't
meanings
think I
for
ever
multiple
mentioned something
people?
as specific as that.
That is
Gajapure,
what
please
your
let me
entire
know
rant
that my
was about,
last 5 minutes
right?
was not waste.
So what I get was like, wait, no, no, no.
I feel so
That is
Wait.
invalidated now.
Yeah, no, no, no. Wait, like it was more about the why people discuss art rather than like using the term art.
but the question is, what is art?
So why, like, just to answer your specific question, ki, does it have to have multiple meanings? No, it does not really have to have multiple meanings.
Rewrite.
But
Yeah.
what I meant was that people use the word art, right? When things try to go into directions that might not be explored as much. Like Monuments Valley is actually a very
Mhm.
good example of this, right? Something that
Yeah.
we have been classified as art by a lot of people coming into mainstream things just because it hit the right buttons at the right time.
Yeah. Right?
Not really. So Monument Valley was classified as art because of the beautiful
The
Ah,
graphics.
graphics enhance the experience and the ambitious
No,
and aesthetics.
just if you read any popular media review of Monument Valley, anywhere that it mentions Monument Valley is a piece of art, they'll be saying that because of the way
Rathi,
the
what you have to
graphics
understand, graphics
are
is also a
presented.
part of the game, right? So if
Yeah.
the graphics, see,
So they'll not call it work of art because of the radical new the radical
So
new way of
that is,
interacting, or the way the puzzles were
graphics are also an integral part of the
created in.
game. So like specifically in the case of Monuments Valley, the way the game is presented to you is beautiful, right? Now the idea is that the way that the game is presented to
Hmm.
you is also something that is not very much explored, at least at during that point of time, which Kshitij says, right? It is built on somebody else's
Yeah,
work. What?
So that's the point, right? I have, like, Monument Valley
No, so
has
the
some really interesting puzzles.
puzzles
Fine,
is
I
not
agree,
what I'm talking about. Sorry,
and so
sorry,
does
sorry.
Wikipedia. Let me complete. Let me. So the problem is not that the puzzles are same old stuff. They are new, sure, but the reason that Monument Valley is classified or often reviewed as a piece of art is because, and only because, of the graphics, not because of
See,
the
see.
puzzles
then
or how
actually
new they were.
that's a bad classification.
So what I will actually say is that the entire reason, like what I have seen, like, and what I have read about Monuments Valley and why people enjoy it is like they enjoy the way the game is presented to you, whether it be the puzzles or whether it just be people looking at it, right? I do not specifically mention that it is the puzzles that have to be like, what do you say, something groundbreaking or something. But the way that the game Monuments Valley has been presented to people is so nice and so surreal. I would actually use the word surreal in that note.
Hmm.
Is what captured people's minds, right? So the way the game is presented, and specifically in the way, like the basic structure of the world, and the way the developers build on the basic structure of the world around which the puzzles are made, right, is so good, is
Hmm.
is so good and so new, is a reason why I feel that it became so popular, right? So talking about the graphics, talking about
Yeah,
the graphics and
not it.
not and talking about graphics separately from how the game is structured, I feel does not do justice to the game, because it is the way the entire game is structured is essentially the basis, and the graphics builds on that and the puzzles build on that. So it is actually the game structure that is the core of why it is uh, popular. So I will agree the game is popular because of the good graphics, right? But the game is art because of the game structure.
Yeah.
No, so
So yeah, this
I'm
is a
just saying the
standoff,
complete
right?
opposite.
Yeah.
This is a standoff.